Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have your Clinton body count page open because she's not quite there, but she's on her way, ascending to the throne, taking over the White House, and at that point, who knows if anyone can stop her. Maybe it's already too late. Just in the last few weeks, there's been at least 4 people definitely confirmed dead who are within a very tight circle of the controversy surrounding Clinton. All this corruption and disgusting stuff going on, and they're dropping dead. We better be paying attention. We better be tracking these people.
What's really creepy is that just in the last week, in a 48-hour period, you had 2 people, 2 very vocal, well-known anti-Clinton activists and researchers die, and the media isn't talking about it at all. It's barely a peep about these 2 dead people anywhere. First of all, you have on August 1st, Victor Thorne. He's a very well-known Clinton researcher who wrote the definitive Clinton trilogy on Bill Clinton's sexual assaults, the drug running out of Mena, Arkansas, and the Clinton body count. That's what he's most well known for. He's also a writer for American Free Press, and he was found dead from a gunshot wound on a mountaintop near his home on his birthday. He would have been 54 years old, and they're calling it a suicide. But again, the police have not released an official statement. There are no official press releases on this at all. In fact, the only story really on this is from the American Free Press itself.
And now he's part of that body count, and there's been suggestions that maybe he had health problems, but given his track record being very well known in the alternative media, this is a guy who reveled in following controversy and attacking people who deserve to be questioned and held accountable. And it seems very improbable to me that even if he was sick, depressed, whatever, suicidal, that he would do so with just a few months to go before the election, with all the frankly exciting and corrupt things to follow and comment and write about.
I mean, if this had been anybody else died like this, they would be in one of his books.
No question.
No question. And whenever the American Free Press interviewed his brother for a whole half an hour, the question was never brought up, how can his brother be so certain that this is just a suicide and not a professional hit against him in a very, very controversial election year for Hillary? Who knows if he was working on a new book about her. So you have that. The very next day, you have Sean Lucas, who's the most well known for walking into the DNC on July 1st and serving the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz with a nationwide class action lawsuit for fraud in rigging the primary against Bernie.
Sean, hi, Becca.
How you doing, Becca?
I'm just with the DNC upstairs.
With the DNC?
Yes.
All right. Well, this is going to be a service to the DNC.
Okay.
And this is for Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Perfect.
You guys have been served.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in court. That was probably the most gratifying thing I've ever done.
You ever done able to deliver the document?
Yeah, they wouldn't give us any of the head honchos, which I kind of had a feeling wasn't going to happen. But we did make contact with somebody from the Democratic National Committee's office, and they've been served. Democracy has prevailed tonight.
Exactly, and you guys all were witness to it.
Which, if anything, is a message. Not only do they want to defeat that lawsuit, but they want to discourage other people from doing so.
Apparently his girlfriend found his body on his bathroom floor. They've not released a cause of death in this. Rumors have been floating around that he died in his sleep. Was he sleeping on the bathroom floor? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. So right there, August 1st and August 2nd, you have 2 dead people, 2 dead anti-Clinton people in 2 days. And the mainstream press isn't saying a word. If you go to Google News and type in Victor Thorne's name or Sean Lucas's name, you're going to find 1, maybe 2 stories about each guy in the alternative media. You're not going to see a word of this, not even in local news reports.
There's also Joe Montano, who was the top aide to Tim Kaine, who of course is now the vice presidential candidate, but who was, right before Debbie Wasserman Schultz, chairman of the DNC. And when did Joe Montano die? Supposedly of a heart attack. July 25th, the day that the DNC convention started, and right after the WikiLeaks dump came out exposing all of the DNC corruption. What did Joe Montano know? But that isn't the only one. There's, of course, Seth Rich, who was a member of the DNC National Committee. He was a staffer. He had written some voter sign-up apps to help people find their voting precincts. And from what's been said about him, he may have had direct access to the entire nation's database of voters and quite possibly had firsthand knowledge of voter fraud. He was rumored to testify. I don't think that's been confirmed. But the fact of the matter is, he was gunned down at 4:19 in the morning, only a few weeks ago, July 10th, 2 weeks ahead of the Democratic National Committee.
These tragedies tear at our soul. And so do the incidents that don't even dominate the headlines. Just this past Sunday, a young man, Seth Rich, who worked for the Democratic National Committee to expand voting rights, was shot and killed in his neighborhood in Washington. He was just 27 years old. Surely we can agree that weapons of war have no place on the streets of America.
And they suggested it was like a botched robbery, but they didn't take his wallet, they didn't take his expensive watch, they didn't take his cell phone. His body was covered in bruises, and even just a few days ago, August 1st, police officially have said there's no updates in the murder. They have no idea why. He was just randomly gunned down in the streets. Well, you know, D.C. is a very violent place. Was he going to testify? Did he have information? Well, Assange has hinted strongly that it could have been a DNC staffer who leaked the WikiLeaks stuff that surrounded the controversy of the convention, showed the corruption of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and it's possible that was Seth Rich. Wasserman Schultz admitted that she did know him personally and said nice things, on the surface when he had died, and there are some very serious questions surrounding that for obvious reasons.
But that's not all, because just a few weeks before that, you have former United Nations official John Ash dying while lifting weights. Initially, the United Nations reported that he died of a heart attack, but then local police actually came out and said, no, his windpipe was crushed. His throat was crushed when a barbell fell on it, which they said was an accident, and that he did it to himself while working out, which, interestingly enough, just so happens to mirror the plot of a Columbo episode from the 70s called An Exercise in Fatality, where a murderer drops a barbell on a guy.
What did you say? You said that he was here alone, he decided to work out?
And makes it look like a weightlifting accident.
Because that's how ridiculous it is.
It's so ridiculous. And it just so happens that Ash was set to testify in a huge bribery scandal that, you guessed it, would have led right back to the Clintons and the DNC. Apparently Ash and a Chinese businessman whose name I'm not going to say because I'll probably just butcher the crap out of it, were accused of smuggling $4.5 million into the United States and lying about what it was going to be for. And the Chinese businessman is identified in a 1998 Senate document as the source of hundreds of thousands of dollars illegally being funneled through an Arkansas restaurant to the DNC during the Clinton administration. It turned into a huge scandal when all of this came out, because it turned out that the businessman was favored with more than 10 visits to the White House, including an elevator ride with Hillary Clinton. And all of these people have come out to say that this trial would have been very embarrassing. So John Ash's death, and you can see him here shaking hands with Hillary, is very, very convenient to the Hillary campaign. He winds up with a barbell crushing his windpipe. It's almost like a mafia movie. If it was in a mafia movie, wouldn't that send a message to any other snitches who might talk, a guy having his windpipe crushed?
And keep in mind, all these dots that officially I'm sure they're going to say are not connected has been since Hillary was cleared by the FBI, not prosecuted for the email scandal, since Bernie was forced out of the race, and there's been a lot of dirty, dirty stuff going on with that. And how many more people are going to have to drop dead for her to get her hands around the door to the Oval Office and into power? How many more people are going to mysteriously die from absurd and ridiculous causes of death that just don't add up? I mean, use your common sense. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see that people die around Clinton corruption scandals.
So that's 5 dead people in 6 weeks. How many more people have to die so the country can be forced to pretend to elect Hillary Clinton?